Hello and welcome. My name is Evgeny Rusakov and you're watching TVP World, interview from Vilnius. Today we are focusing on the key security event that was recently held in Vilnius, the Defending Baltics 2025 conference, which brought together military leaders, policymakers and defense experts to discuss the lessons from Ukraine and the future of security on NATO's eastern flank. And joining me now to break down the main takeaways from the conference is Mantas Vilimas, military expert and Locked and Loaded, Civic Centre for Security and Defense Analysis. Mantas, thank you for joining us today, sir. Glad to see you in our studio.
Pleasure to be here.
This year the conference was held under the banner War Lessons from Ukraine. Correct me if I'm wrong, but unfortunately it seems that we are lagging behind a little on this particular subject. So what's your take? Are we, the Baltic states and Lithuania in particular, good students?
Well, it's not that we are lagging behind and we are not bad students, but the problem is that the war in Ukraine changes very fast. And Europe, as we all know, is not really up to the lesson every time a new lesson comes out, so to say. The Baltic states, of course, understood the topic much earlier, and we started prepare, well, let's say much better than the Western colleagues of ours in specific areas like civil preparedness, military training upgrades, and so on. But yeah, the truth is simple. We need more speed, we need a bigger scale, and we need to get on it much faster. The time is running. The exams are coming very fast. We did study, but we need to cramp up.
The commanders-in-chief of all three Baltic states took part in the very first panel discussion, and the topic was closest to the enemy, the NATO Eastern flank, exactly what we're talking about right now. So what are those unique security challenges faced by our states, and what are the most effective defense strategies in the event of an aggression from the east?
So our biggest weakness and the biggest danger comes from our geography. Of course, we are living next to a neighbor that has shown that it can attack very fast and kind of unprovoked. Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia has no strategic depth at all. Also, we have Suwalki corridor, which is a known problem, more or less. Of course, that situation is a little bit better now since we have Sweden and Finland in our team, but still, that's one of course,
one of the key issues.
Yes, and one of our connections to the mainland EU and mainland NATO. So the best strategy at this moment for us is to stop any attack the moment it starts. We have no opportunity to take the enemy in and then to try to push it out. Maybe in the case of Ukraine, they have a lot of space. They still can try. We don't have that. And also, from what we know from this war, is that the enemy is very good at digging in the new positions, and to take him out of those occupied positions is a very hard task.
According to European Commissioner for Defense, Andris Kubilius, which was actually our former Prime Minister of Lithuania, Russia may attack a NATO country in 2 to 4 years, with the Baltic states amongst its targets. So other guests and experts said something similar during the conference. And previous estimates indicated that this would not happen before 2030, as far as I remember. So what do you think about this? Should we start preparing for a war?
Yes, of course, we should start preparing for war, but that doesn't mean that we should start panicking. The truth is simple. Russia is building up its military much faster than anybody expected. That is very obvious. Even when it occurs such huge losses in the battlefield that's probably astronomical and record-breaking, they're still living in, well, war scenario. The whole country is already prepared to live under constant war threats and lack of resource and so on.
I'd rather say not maybe the whole country, but Kremlin is ready to...
Well, the Kremlin is ready, but the regions have no choice.
Yeah, sure.
Of course, you know. And yeah, and that means that Europe needs also to speed up. We are are doing that too slow for at the moment. That need to be changed faster. But overall, the whole point is that not that the war is inevitable. If we will not start preparing right now and do it faster, then the war is almost a guarantee. But that's also a way out of that possibility. Preparation shows that we are ready, not that the war is coming.
Do you think the West, in comparison to your previous conference, do you think the West heard the Baltic states, Lithuania in particular, properly?
I want to believe so. At least from the amount of German media present in the conference, the amount of German military personnel present in the conference, what we can see, the references to our conference in the media right now. I mean, the message we are sending is really resonating much better than a year ago. It's hard to compare what was happening before then, since right now we already have a presence of Panzer Brigade in Lithuania. Hopefully, the signs are in the same direction, and yes, our message is finally reaching its target.
Brilliant, brilliant. Okay, you've mentioned Suwalki corridor before that. So what do the experts say regarding this topic?
Well, it's already a topic that has been discussed 1,000 times beforehand, and it's a real issue. The problem is real. However, we finally have Finland and Sweden on our side, and after they joined NATO, Suwalki is not the only road, not the only way to supply our allies here. We also have NATO Lake already. Almost. But it's much more safer. Suwalki gap is very important and still quite dangerous aspect we have here.
Is it still the most vulnerable spot for the Baltics?
Yes and no. It's very vulnerable, but the main problem with it comes from, I would say, from Kaliningrad. However, the Kaliningrad itself is already in the plans to be neutralized if it's needed by NATO. So that's, once again, it's a problem. However, I wouldn't say that it's as dangerous as it was before.
Okay, you've mentioned Kaliningrad. So my next question is, how big in general, how big of an obstacle is Kaliningrad region for NATO countries in general and for the Baltic states and Poland in particular?
So yes, Kaliningrad, as we know, is an enclave of Russian military forces. It has serious amounts of...
I would say weaponized to its maximum, maybe.
Yes. We know that it hosts various electronic warfare, air defense systems. Unknown how many troops are there still left or still coming in, but we cannot deny that it's important and dangerous point in our military maps. However, what this war has already shown that not every system Russia declares is the same on paper as in real life. And also NATO started really looking seriously at that issue and that topic. I mean, the Kaliningrad is already in the plans to be neutralized if needed. NATO generals are prepared for that, and we're looking at it, well, at least from the Lithuanian point of view, we can somewhat at least feel safer from that threat in there.
Brilliant. Okay, now what role does the Nordic-Baltic cooperation play in this regard? I mean, when, again, coming back to Kaliningrad issue.
Well, first of all, the Nordic countries, although they are new members of NATO, they are they're not really without experience in military fields. As we know, Sweden has its military complex very profound, and they're building it for many ages, many years. Finland is, I would say, one of the best regional defense examples we have in NATO already. Besides their knowledge they can share with us. It's also various information on what they have in Arctic warfare and so on and so on. So having them here is a very huge bonus. Also, air defense, naval power is very important, and they're quite proficient in that area. The power shifts to our way since Sweden and Finland joined NATO, and what we're doing is we're just building that relationship up and enforcing our allies to aid us and as much as we can aid them.
Good to know. Good to know. Okay, another interesting topic that was raised during the conference is hybrid threats in Europe. So, what do the experts think about this specific issue? How do they assess Europe's capabilities to deter all those hybrid threats?
I would say that the story is all the same. Eastern Europe is quite aware, and we are constantly living under, let's call it, serious threat of hybrid attacks. The very case of rail explosion in Poland shows that it could actually have moved to a very dangerous situation, and lives could be in danger, actually. So the escalation is visible every year, I would say. Western countries are also getting their share of hybrid attacks, as we know, with drones over airports in Denmark and in Norway, and various other attacks. Would it be cyber attacks or maybe even actual arson or something different? So it brings up the alertness of Western countries. However,
but the escalation level is high enough, but not that high to, let's say, talk about the NATO's Article 5 or NATO's Article 4.
We need faster response times and maybe more aggressive response. Of course, talking about Article 5 or 4 in that case is more of a politician's sphere. I wouldn't say, and I couldn't comment on what's plausible,
sure,
what can be used, what cannot. We need to, of course, agree and understand that the Article 5 brings very strong basis for serious escalation, which need to be calculated and be ready. But then again, we must not show that we are weak. We must not show that we are not willing to use all the tools we have in our arsenal.
Sure. Okay. My final question. So, in your opinion, what would be the main conclusion of the whole two-day event?
Well, I would say that the main conclusion is that the next 2-3 years might be the most important we have, at least in our recent history.
For the whole Europe, or just for the Baltic states?
All Europe, I would say.
Whole Europe.
There's no different timeline for Europe and for Eastern members. It's all one story, one region, and the threat is unilateral. If there's gonna be a serious threat to Baltic states or Poland or any Eastern nation, it's not attack on one, it's attack on all. And we need to understand that very fast. Russia is evolving. They're not sleeping. They're learning their lessons, and they're doing that on the battlefield practically. They're adapting constantly. We're watching from far, and it's easier and harder at the same time. It's easier to just observe the lessons and to have time to prepare for them, but it's much harder in the sense that you need to really understand the danger, and you need to really observe and adapt real time right now, not wait for the next year, not wait for the next 10 years. Preparedness shows that we are ready. Let's keep preparing. Let's not be weak.
Okay, Mantas, thank you for joining us today, and I really hope to see you once again in our studio.
Most definitely.
And I would like to remind our viewers that our guest for today was a military expert at Locked and Loaded, Civic Centre for Security and Defence Analysis, Mantas Vilimas. You're watching TVP World. Stay with us.